If you're running an e-commerce brand and you're not generating at least 30% of total revenue from emails, then you could be leaving money on the table. And I don't just mean like a little bit, I mean like a shit ton. I've helped brands doing over 500K a month all the way up to about 12 million a month through their email channels alone without spending any additional money on ads, and single-handedly built retention systems that turn first-time buyers into lifelong patrons of brands. And what I'm gonna show you today isn't gonna drive insane amounts of revenue for your brand in terms of like taking it from 100K a month to 200, 300, 500K a month. But what it will do is boost your bottom line by an insane amount. As most ecom brands really just treat their emails as more of an afterthought, literally understanding that it is by far going to be the most profitable marketing channel for you as brand owners. So in this video, I'm going to give you guys the precise roadmap in order to fix and dial in your email marketing to turn it into a predictable money printer for you guys. First things first, it's understanding the 80-20 of ecom emails. Because you see, most brands send literally the wrong type of emails, focusing on things like education, lead nurture, and all of those things. I'm not saying those things needs to go out the window, but ultimately as a brand owner, you really got to understand that like if you want to drive profits as well as revenue, running direct response sales based emails is literally the only thing that matters. And this is data points that we have gathered over the last 5 years, sending 1,000 campaigns, like individual campaigns per month for the brands that we're working with. Because the reality is that like most subscribers on your list are not actually going to read the vast majority of text on your email. And they more so care about two primary questions. Number one, why they should buy your brand in terms of like why they should trust you, how do they know the brand will work, etc. Second thing they care about in your emails is why they should buy now. If you have those two elements, your emails will convert at a much higher rate. The second thing to understand is that most brands focus very heavily on the campaign aspect, but in order to get 80% of results from your email marketing in 20% of the time, what you really got to be focusing on is the flows. If you build them right, you can just essentially leave them on, not touch them for like 2 years, and it will consistently generate you anywhere from 10 to 25% of your total revenue over that 2-year span. So let's get this fixed today, and I'm going to tell you about the 6 essential flows that every single brand needs in order to drive a ton of revenue through your email channels. Number one flow is going to be your pre-purchase flows, which basically is every single flow that is sent prior to the purchase event with the customer. First things first, let's talk about the welcome series. So essentially the welcome series is sent as soon as someone signs up to your mailing list, whether it be from a lead form, flyout form, or an embedded form. Essentially, this is a sequence of emails that is sent to turn new subscribers into first-time buyers. The second pre-purchase flow that's gonna unlock a ton of revenue for you guys is your abandoned checkout. The key with abandoned checkout emails is actually to not use generic like come back, buy now, or like you left this in your cart type of messaging. Let's say it's like a caffeine-free energy boosting product. If you know that one of the biggest pains that you guys actually solve is like removing that anxiety and the jitters that you get from consuming caffeine, but also getting that energy boost as a result of it. Instead of just sending generic reviews and testimonials about how great your product tastes, instead you can pick the reviews that specifically tackles Jennifer from Houston really benefited from, let's say, the lack of anxiety and the jitters, but also benefiting from the energy boost as a result of consuming your product. If you have these two pre-purchase flows, you're essentially going to be able to generate 60-70% of your flow revenue already. And this is without building things out like browse abandonment, abandoned site, abandoned carts, all of those things. They do generate a ton of revenue too, but if you're strapped for time, welcome and checkout is all you need. On the post-purchase side, basically every single flow that happens after the purchase is made, you should definitely build a customer thank you flow, because this over time will drastically reduce your number of support tickets necessary. And what I mean by this is, as soon as someone purchases from you as a brand, normally your shipping times are going to be a lot longer to something that they might already be used to, such as like an Amazon, right? So essentially, from the time someone places an order to the time they receive their product, a lot of buyer's remorse and basically just like questioning their purchasing decisions might come up psychologically for the consumer. So a customer thank you series is a really great place to not only put those worries at ease, but also act as an opportunity to upsell your customers into making a rapid repeat purchase with your brand. The next flow is dedicated upsell as well as cross-sell flows. And the way to do this isn't necessarily to give massive discounts, but also it's to really explain to the customer and position it in a way that where the discount would benefit them. So a classic example of like a really great upsell angle to use when it comes to, let's say, the supplement space is rather than saying, hey, look, we saw you just bought our, let's say, protein powder. Do you want another bottle of the same exact protein powder at like, let's say 50% off, right? Because to the consumer's mind, they might just think, okay, well, I just paid 100% like full price for this. Why are you giving this to me at 50% off now, right? So you need to create logical arguments for the customer, telling them and explaining to them exactly why you're able to give them this as a discount. So for example, in the supplement space, what we normally say to upsell, let's say complementary supplements. So for example, if someone's taking creatine, upselling them to like BCAAs, hey, we saw that you bought creatine, right? But actually, one of the things that will really boost your results with this creatine that we just sold you is if you consume BCAAs alongside. Now, we can give you these BCAAs at cost price because we know that you're just going to benefit so much more from the creatine that you're going to come back and buy more creatine from us. So if you want, you can upgrade your order to include these BCAAs at cost price to us, just because we know that you're going to come back for creatine in the future, right? So that doesn't negatively impact the perceived value of the creatine, but it also justifies to the customer's head. It's like, okay, so these guys want to give me this great products, the BCAAs, at a massive discount because they want me to come back for creatine in the future. Makes sense. The next set of flows is going to be your reactivation flows, meaning your customer win-back flows, aka targeting people who have not purchased again from you within a specific time frame, or your replenishment reminder flows. So if you're a consumable brand, emailing them and timing it to when their product is about to run out could really boost returning customer rates, as well as act as an upsell to upgrade their order status into some sort of recurring subscription with your brand. Like by doing these things alone, we literally just yesterday added another $100,000 a month roughly in the last 28 days to a brand that's only doing about 400K per month alone. Just by building out the brand's flows. They're actually in the pet niche as well, so they have pretty good returning customer rates as a result. Out of these 6 flows that I just covered, your abandoned checkout flow is going to drive a big portion of your revenue, as essentially it's helping you recover people who don't quite complete their order. The problem with most brands is their cart recovery rate is anywhere from 5, maybe 15% if you're really, really lucky, but majority of the time it's between that 5 to 10% range. Whereas my clients frequently experience 15 to 25% cart recovery rates. We actually pick the relevant objections to handle inside of the abandoned checkout emails, as opposed to just sending them templated reminders to complete their order. So here's how you can implement exactly what my agency does to 2x your cart recovery rates. Number 1 is you need to identify the 3 biggest pain points in order to overcome for majority of your customers to actually make a purchasing decision in the first place. The second thing is you need to then break these objections down and address them in a very systematic way, starting from the most common to the least common over a 3 to 4 email sequence. And you can overcome these objections in several ways. You could do it visually, right? In the banner image of the emails, or you could do it through cherry picking social proof, right? So rather than just taking any 5-star review from your website, you can hand select reviews that are specifically targeting that singular objection. Or you can use, let's say, celebrity endorsement, right? Or like endorsement from any UGC creator really, or showing, let's say, before after transformations. So here's a generic 4 email sequence that you could just implement, and 9 times out of 10, if you just like customize a few bits that I tell you, it's going to work incredibly well. Number 1, set the delay between people starting checkout to the first email to 30 minutes. In this email, you don't necessarily want to hop into objection handling straight away. This acts more as a reminder and an order bump, with generally pretty generic messaging telling them to complete their order and opening up the option for them to reach out to you guys. Now, email 2 onwards, this is where the objection handling starts, because essentially if someone's going to buy, they generally will make the purchasing decision within 24 hours, especially with how meta targeting works and that kind of stuff. But the second email is going to be sent 23.5 hours later, essentially 1 exact day after they started checkout on your website. And in here, you're going to showcase some social proof and maybe introducing some of the core benefits that your users report when they try your product. And then the third email should be sent 24 hours after the second, right? And in this email specifically, you could do a us versus them comparison. Now, a great way to present this is in, you know, that like comparison table format where cereal companies might do like, we are sugar-free, competitors has sugar, we have high protein, competitors no protein, etc., etc. It's just like that table format. Now, when you do this, it's very, very important that if you were to call out your competitors' brands directly, you have every single metric be objective one. So for example, if you are comparing sugar versus no sugar, that's fine. But if you're comparing, let's say 70% of our audience prefers our cereal as opposed to theirs, something along those lines, that wouldn't necessarily work too well. If you want to do subjective comparisons, then just make the other brands completely anonymous. And lastly, for email 4, what we like to include here is to give people a reason to buy now, right? So essentially deliver them an offer of some sort to give them some urgency and some reason to act now, as opposed to later. If you do all of these things in the emails in the right order, you will see your cart recovery rates go up significantly. The next point that I wanted to talk about was the revenue per subscriber metric. So essentially, there's no better metric to measure the success of your email marketing and how clean your list is outside of revenue per subscriber. And if you nail this, start tracking this and start optimizing for this metric, you're going to see a drastic increase in your email marketing efforts. Most brands collect a ton of leads, but they don't have like a set process in place to actually monetize them. And the RPS metric is a great way to self-assess and make sure you're on track. So to calculate this, you want to take your total email revenue from the last 30 days and divide it by the total number of active subscribers. Once you get this number, you'll kind of know which direction to go in order to optimize. If this number is too low, it's going to signal that either your list is not very clean, or your engagement is relatively low, or the content that you're serving is just simply not very effective. If it's too low, then you can target this side in terms of like optimizing, cleaning your list, increasing the conversion rates of your content. Whereas if your revenue per subscriber is really, really high, then you should be focusing more so towards strategies that enable you to grow your list. By tracking this exact variable, it will tell you which way to lean on in order to actually scale the list. And it's one of the core things that we look at in our auditing process in order to assess any given email account. So if that kind of sounds interesting to you and you don't really want to do this analysis yourself, feel free to book a call with my team and we'd be more than happy to give you a 360 overview and a deep dive into your email marketing processes. As just by knowing this metric alone and knowing which side of the equation you need to optimize towards, you could literally 3x your email marketing with the exact same list. That's basically everything you need to know in order to turn your email list into an absolute money profit printing machine. And if you're serious about scaling up your emails, feel free to book a call, as I said, and I'll see you in the next one.